Is it done?
It's done.
I'm afraid the ghosts from the past come back to haunt us. I want you to get to the island immediately.
Aren't you Will Owens?
Officer Owens.
Didn't your sister get killed all those years ago?
It's been 3 months since the brutal killing of one of Mystic Pine's most prominent community figures.
I don't know how deep this runs, but I'm going to find out.
You got me into this fucking mess, and you get me out.
And hello, welcome back to another edition of Takeover Tuesday. I am your host, Benner from Black Font Distro, and I'm here with the amazing Vicky from MakeupBilly.com. Vicky, how's it going, dude? How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. Just a quick thing. I just want to say that is the historically that's a record. That's the loudest trailer that we've ever played as an intro to this show. But it looks like a really cool project. You're here. You took over our Instagram today. We're gonna get to Mystic Pines in a second and talk about that and how your involvement is kind of key to that production. But hey, listen, let's thank you so much for taking over our Instagram today, posting all kinds of crazy, awesome stuff to our feed, to our stories, mask making, behind the scenes, pulling back the curtain on what you do. How you been, man? How did you like everything?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It's one of those things, where you're like, all right, y'all have different followers than me, but I just kind of went with it. It's those moments where you just post all kinds of fun, right? You just go with it.
I am, of course, wearing my Shining T-shirt that you can get from yourself, as well as a lot of other designs when we hit up conventions. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on, too. And I've also got on my Texas hat, my Billy Bob's Texas hat, which we will talk about Texas in a little bit. And as you can see from the bottom scroll, we're going to talk about some mask stuff. We're going to talk about some horror flicks, some hair metal, and cheeseburgers from Texas. So you ready to go?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so just for everyone watching, if you want to post a comment or have a question for Vicky, throw it down in the comments below, and we'll throw it up on the screen during the interview. Okay, so during the broadcast, we'll be able to throw your comment or question on the screen, and we'll try and get to as many as possible before the end of the show. But let's dive in. It's been a crazy year. We were just talking before we got on the air. We haven't talked in a long time, probably about 3 or 4 months. But we still check out each other's stuff on Instagram and what we're doing and stuff. And we were just talking about like, hey, what's happening this year, and what's been how many challenges that us as small business owners have had to kind of endure. But let's talk about, before we get into that, let's talk about the trailer we just saw. Mystic Pines is a new movie coming out soon by a production company called Dream Warriors. And you had something to do with the mask in the movie. Is that correct?
Totally, yeah. So the directors and writers approached me and they're like, Vicky, man, like, we got an idea. And it's a dude who has mirrors of face. Because how sick of that, right? When you're going to strangle somebody and you're looking at your face while like hitting that moment of death. So I was like, all right, let me putz around in like my studio and figure out what we can do. We spent like many a nights just hanging out together, trying to brainstorm how we do it. And finally I was like, okay, screw this. Started sculpting, started getting it going. And we ended up getting like these mirror type plastic pieces. And I had to figure out how to like integrate that into the mask. It was such a pain in the butt. The director still has that piece. I don't have that piece on me. I do have the mold. But yeah, it was such a challenge, but legit, we nailed it. filming was crazy with it. And like one of our last shots, like I don't know, I think you see a quick tidbit of it, but we do a shot where he gets shot literally, and the mirror piece had to fling away, and it was like those moments where you're like, oh my god, you have to pull it at like the perfect time. We had like a piece on a string, we had like the mask, the under mask on him, bananas, but hella worth it, man. Like he's so scary. Like he's so tall too, like genuinely, and like the sweetest guy, Clayton. yeah.
It's such a cool looking mask because like you were mentioning, like you see yourself like that dying, or like character dying, and seeing the reflection before they die, and it's always a cool concept and a challenge to come up with something that looks sort of I don't want to say iconic because it's brand new, right? But something that looks like that has that sort of iconic idea behind it. I remember you showing us like some clips of it. I think it was last year. You're like, hey man, look at what I'm working on. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And when I saw the trailer, it really stands out as kind of like a focal point for the movie, and it looks pretty good. Do you know when that's coming out at all? Or
so right now we have the first episode basically down. We're just pushing to get funding to be able to make it the full series, right?
Right, because it's a web series, is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we're basically pushing on those avenues right now. And like you said, it's been really tough. Like, walking into like production places, like you can't really push for that much at this point. There's not much any filming going on, especially in Montreal.
Right.
So yeah, but so stoked. It's such a good team of people. And like, again, like I had chills. I still get chills. You know what I mean? I think it's so well done. And legit, like you said, he already seems like an icon. He has so much presence too on set. It's like, oh, I have some like behind the scenes shots, like when I was doing makeup and had to do like a nail coming through like a hand. And like I'd like stop, putz around, like take some photos of like them, like getting like pictures of Mirror Face and stuff and like shooting them. And it's just like, oh, like you just see like how tall he is, how like, that it's it's like mad cinematography at work. I was like, damn. Yeah.
And what's so it, like, obviously you're a huge horror fan. We don't need to talk really about that. We'll get to that later on in the interview for sure. But is that if you've been making masks for the better part of a decade now? We met like way back in the day when you were kind of first starting, I think in year 2 or year 3. So we've known each other for a long time. But is moving into film and doing design work for film something that you've always wanted to do, or?
It's always been a part of it. Like I've always said, I just want to make masks in the creepy basement and sell to other collectors. So it's always been like my thing. It's shooting the shit at conventions. But it's also that amazing moment where you can ship something off and somebody like shows this is what I.
Yeah, for sure. I think we might be running into some technical difficulties. We always run into this around 7:00 at night. So Vicky, you might have to log back in. We'll see if you can kind of come back here. But let me just we're definitely joined by Vicky Clerici, who runs Makeup Billy in Montreal, Quebec, and she's going to pop back in right now just while she fixes her internet connection there. Unfortunately, it's 2020, so of course that's what we have to run into sometimes. But you can definitely check her out on www.makeupbilly.com. She does a lot of custom work, and let me just throw this up onto the bottom there. So definitely check out her website, www.makeupbilly.com. And you can also follow her on Instagram at makeupbilly. So, and here, guess what? Here's Vicky back. I think we got her back. Hey, what's up, dude?
I made it.
It just happens sometimes. It's 7:00. It's dinner time. Everyone's on the internet. It's 2020. We're in the midst of a global pandemic. So, I mean, we're just kind of promoting your website there, makeupbilly.com. You're just saying you do a lot of custom work, and you do take custom orders, and that's kind of your bread and butter, right? I know that you go to conventions and you're a presence there and do a lot of online marketing, but really it's the custom work that is sort of like the big chunk of your business. Is that right?
Yeah, legit. And it's like that Mask Edward that I made way back in the day. I sent him off to one of my director buddies out in Vancouver, Steven Sawchuk, and he ended up making a short with it too called Forward. And I knew he was filming something, but like this many years passes and like you have this final piece and I'm like, yes. It's those moments where you take gambles working with people, right? at the same time, I love sharing my work, and it's always like, I just want to see anything. Like, show me what you can do with my work. I love that because I don't have that kind of skill behind a camera. You know what I mean? I do the behind the scenes. So yeah.
And I mean, you posted some videos today about you making a mask today.
Yeah.
And so what goes into that process? Like, walk us through that. Like, how do you start? Like, how do you come up? Obviously, a custom order is a custom order, but if you're making something for yourself, how do you start? Do you just come up with the idea saying, hey, you know what mask I want to make? I want to make this mask, and then go to town on it? Or how long does it take you from kind of coming up with the idea to like really kind of having a mask that's finished that you can put on?
I would say, of course, I'm still working full time. So it takes about a month if I'm legit, like focused from start to finish, creating like something new. I just go based off my brain. Like if I'm feeling something, I imagine something, I go straight to sculpture. I don't draw first. I don't like conceptualize it on a smaller, like you can kind of see that, that little maquette. I don't even do it on that little dude. I just go ahead right on it. And then I just kind of go with the flow. If I'm feeling it, great. If I'm not, you know, and it's one of those things where you have to constantly step back and, you know, reassess. But the biggest problem as a sculptor is there's moments where you're just like obsessed, where you're like, I want this to be perfect. It's kind of like my chatter. Dude, I've been working on this for over a year. I'm like, I want him to be so good. But I'm like, there. I'm like, all right, we're ready. But yeah.
And that's Chatterer from Hellraiser, which we were just talking before we got on the air. We actually, the Black Fawn guys met that guy in Sitges in Spain. And he's like the nicest dude on the planet. Like he's the nicest. I can't tell you how nice he is. He's just like the nicest guy I've ever met. But yeah. If you can find him online, you should tag him on that when you get it done. I'm sure he'll say something nice. Yeah. But let's so I know that recently you've sort of like, you know, you've pivoted more towards online stuff. And that was actually kind of even last year, even before pandemic, right? Before COVID, where you were sort of one of your online personas is this, I guess you would say, a character named Her.
Yeah.
And I think we saw glimpses of her in the trailer at the start for Mystic Pines, right? Which is the new series coming out. But what can you tell us about how do you like she's an intricate part of your online brand and your online marketing now. Tell us where that character came from, where the idea came from, and what's the plan for her in the future?
Man, oh man, I've always wanted to make the him and her thing into like a film, and I've got approached by so many people, but I'm like, no, it's gotta be something good. You know what I mean? Because it's such a scary thing, the two of them. I created that.
And sorry, just for our audience, what's the other character? It's him, right?
Him and her. Yeah.
Him and her.
And you know what? Funny enough, I only have basically one of each. I did make some doubles, but that was more just for fun. Like the pool shots we did in Ottawa, we had a couple of extras, but there's like the two OGs, right? I accidentally did a Reddit live the other day, and I ended up pouring that, thinking it was a Halloween mask, like Michael Myers. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do with it? Like, so the original mold is a 2-headed mask. It's him and her.
Oh, wow.
You decide how you want to wear it. So that's the one that they used to shoot in Mystic Pines, was they were using the double-headed one. That's like my OG thing. Sculpting her, I used the face of the original girl from the movie Mannequin from the 80s or 90s.
Okay.
Late 80s?
80s, yeah.
I forget her name. She's such a babe. So I focused on her face basically as like the shape. And then the back face was the creepy dude from Lost Highway. I really focused on his kind of specific part.
Yeah, that guy's super creepy.
Right?
Call me. Call me.
Fuck that guy.
yeah. Just like gave me nightmares for a week.
Right? But so I'm so shy on camera and like behind, like it doesn't seem like it, like, you know me one-on-one, it's different. But it's one of those things when you're sitting behind a booth all day, when you just put one of those on.
Well, I remember like you did some video shoots when we were at Ottawa Comic-Con, which was last year. So I think it was last May in 2019, where you were like, we're like, hey man, we're going out, and Richie was your videographer for the weekend. And a bunch of shots. If you haven't seen them, hit up Vicky's Instagram at Makeup Billy, and check them out. If you can go back like a year and try and find them, they're very, very cool. And it's so neat because they're in slow mo. There's lots of people like looking at you weird because it's a very unsettling. It's a very unsettling image and a very unsettling thing. Like it almost tricks your brain to thinking like I'm not supposed to like that, but I'm interested at the same time.
Right?
Is that something that you're planning on carrying on as far as part of Makeup Billy brand?
Absolutely, yeah. I had created an Instagram account a while ago, him and her 666, and I just maybe posted 3 photos on it. But I'm basically planning on like legit taking that like full throttle. I had an amazing photo shoot the other night. It's like legit, like when you're just bored and want to be creative, yo, social distance photography. So like I hooked up with this guy, Mark Charon, awesome, like local dude here in Montreal. And like legit, like never really met him before. And then it was like, boom, let's do this. And the shots he came out with were crazy. People thought, I don't know. I don't want to know what people thought. There was a couple people walking by. It wasn't okay. But he took some video too, and I'm stoked to see that and share that with everybody.
Awesome. Okay, we'll look forward to that. Like, and you know, as we're talking, like, I mean, obviously, you know, we're in the midst of a global pandemic, which is still going on. We're in the midst of second wave right now, which is, you know, pretty crazy, pretty scary for a lot of people too. And obviously, hopefully we're getting to the other side. But as a small business owner yourself, and I know you put a lot of time and a lot of focus into this over the last couple of years to kind of really up your game as far as, and raise the bar as far as like what your mask business is and what it means to like the horror community. But what's you know, what are the challenges that you're facing, and what are the differences, or maybe there's no challenges in your respect because you do a lot of stuff online. But like, what have you? How has 2020 been different for you from the business point of view?
I would say when you go to conventions, you get a real vibe for what people are into and what people kind of want to see, and also it inspires you, right? Like you can't really do that. You can't really just shoot the shit with people online, be like, what's your favorite scary movie? It's not as upfront and, you know, like that, like as if you're at a convention. So that's probably something that I kind of miss, but I've just been really trying to stay on board. Like you see me every morning, I'm constantly watching horror movies, working out at the same time. Like I kind of keep it in my life so like it doesn't lose that, you know, spooky feeling. You got to stay spooky all the time, especially now. So when you can't be in a community physically, I'm finding it elsewhere. So, you know, when it's not at home, it's Reddit has a lot of crazy things. Like Facebook, I'm part of so many awesome groups, man. Horror everything, The Crypt. Oh man, there's so many. I can't even.
And have you seen an uptick in business based on the fact that people are at home and maybe they want their own mask to kill some time with? I don't know. Like,
at the beginning, so many people were like, make us COVID masks. I'm like, I don't want to sell out. I like making spooky things that like are not useless, but to be like looked at, and, like enjoyed. But yeah.
And you mentioned like going to conventions and stuff like that. As far as you know, how the horror community is so woven together. We miss it too a ton because we talk to a lot of people, like you were mentioning, right? Like it's like we talk to a lot of people online, and it's just not the same. It's just like, you know, even phone calls, Zoom meetings, like stuff like this is great, but it just doesn't have the same kind of like tactile sort of feel. Like no one's able to high five anyone or anything like that. But like, what's has that brought out like the importance of the horror community? Like by not having it around physically, has it made it more important to you, do you think?
Man, like wanting to do conventions now, like making it like double time. Is that what you kind of mean? Like,
yeah, like I mean, like, you think like I look back personally, and I'm kind of, not that I took it for granted, but I just always assumed it would be there, and now I realize how much of a part of us it really is, and how much we miss it, right?
Yeah, well, like I want to say 2019 was effing awesome. I feel like we did so many shows. You guys too. We tag team there in Ottawa. Like we did Texas, we did Shock Stock. Like there were so many events that we did, and then it was boom, nothing. So it's almost like that moment of reassessment where you're just like, okay, you know what? Don't get down. You're gonna see these guys eventually. you know, we're gonna be able to shoot the shit with all these awesome horror fans and like-minded folk. You know. I'm like, that's my vibe. I'm like, fingers crossed.
Like-minded folk. It sounds so 1950s, right? Like,
I'm sorry.
So just as a reminder to anyone watching right now, if you have a question for Vicky or a comment, or if you just want to say hello, throw it down in the comment section down here below on Facebook, and we'll throw it up on the screen. I'll give an example of what that looks like. We've got somebody popping in here. Mike Hall, hi Vicky. And
What up,
that's what he
Michael?
said. So Mike, you got a question or a comment or anything like that, feel free to throw it down in the comments. And as well as everybody else watching, make sure you comment, ask Vicky a question. We will try and get to them by the end of the broadcast. But before we get to that, we've got a section that we like to do on here on this program called Rapid Fire. And you've taken over our Instagram all day today. You've been telling us what you've been doing, but now you're in the hot seat, and we're going to ask you some hard-hitting journalistic questions. Are you game for that?
Absolutely not. Go.
So just a couple words from our sponsors, which is Wellington Brewery. Where's here? Right here. Wellington Brewery. They got a sweet Hell's Lager. Hell's yeah. And Wellington Brewery is our sponsor for Black Fawn Distro. They've kept us up and running even during the pandemic. They are the fuel that goes into the engine that keeps the car running. So big thanks to Wellington Brewery out there. And all right, so we've got some questions for you, Vicky. I know you're not ready for these. They're going to be a little bit surprising, but we're going to ease you in, and then we'll go from there. All righty?
Oh, okay, go.
All righty, here we go. So rapid fire. So help us out a little. What's your favorite horror movie of all time, and why?
Halloween. Just because I'm obsessed with Michael Myers. I think he's
The original?
so hot. Yeah, totes.
Okay.
78, baby.
And just because Michael Myers is hot.
He's super hot. Jamie Lee Curtis is an amazing character on that. She's like a tough female lead, and I don't know. I love it. The music, please. Carpenter's so good.
Did you like the remake?
You know
the most recent remake, not Rob Zombie's remake, but
it was like 2018, right? I saw that in theaters. Honestly, it was okay, but again, it's a bit like the what do you call it? Like the It remake. To me, it's a bit. I feel like they Disneyed it up in a way, like they softened it, which is cool because it'll get younger generations in on.
Yeah, and I think
But
okay, we got you back. We got you back. Well, you didn't hear that last part, but you're laughing, so we're okay. So jumping on to number 2. Now it's no secret if people know you personally or have met you for longer than half an hour.
Oh no.
That you have an unbridled love for hair metal. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And so here's a question for you. So you're out in the town with us, of course, Team Black Fawn, and you have the opportunity to see one hair metal band that night. What band are you rocking out to? But you have to pick one.
One only?
One only.
I would say Maiden, man. We were supposed to go to Maiden too. I know they're not that hair metal. Like, I love Rat. I'd love loving you. Is it dirty? I would. Oh man, so many good ones.
I thought you were gonna say Rat for sure.
Yeah,
but I'd take Maiden. I'd go see either one of those.
But is Maiden really hair metal? I'd say Rat.
Kinda. Like, I mean, they're metal, but I mean, I don't know. They've been around for so long that they've kind of like gone through every sort of wave, right? But
absolutely, good point. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Iron Maiden, because we'd be able to sing everything. And like solos, everybody would have their own like harmonic. Yeah. We're good. We got this.
Alrighty. So now a funny story between me and you. We have a little ritual where I ask you if you've ever tried something before, and you say no, you haven't, and then I'm like, what? And then we make you try it. Only food. But so this is a yes and no question. Is the spicy cheeseburger from Whataburger in Texas? For those of you who don't know, Whataburger is a fast food chain in Texas, which is amazing. But was the spicy cheeseburger from Whataburger in Texas was better than the delicious fudge that you tried in Ottawa?
Absolutely.
Yes or no?
Absolutely.
So you're saying the cheeseburger is better than the fudge?
Yeah. It was so good.
And also, we also video. We have these small videos cataloged of Vicky trying new things And she's never not liked anything. We've never given her anything that she hasn't liked. So
No. It's such a treat for me who like doesn't eat bread and like avoids sugar. It's like, oh man.
here's a cheeseburger and fudge. Okay, so now we've got one more. So 2 more rapid fire questions. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
4. We've got what do you want? What convention are you most looking forward to returning to once the pandemic's over?
Oh, I'd say Shockstock.
Shockstock. Big shout out to Jake and James over at Shockstock.
Mm-hmm. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. And one last one because I couldn't resist because this is it just makes me laugh every time I think about it. But tell us more. What are Vickyisms, and can you tell our audience a little bit more about them?
Screw you, better. So I make up words a lot. And I'm convinced they're real words. And I'll speak to people and assume that they know. So Vickyisms. But like at the same time, like stop it. People don't really say that often, but I say it way too often.
So I looked around and I was like, a couple years ago, there was these things that you said all the time that we were like, these are like Vickyisms, like only Vicky says these things as much as, well, more than anybody else in the world. Right? So I was like, I wonder if they're still on my phone. So I looked them up and I have a top 6 Vickyisms in my phone. Stop it is number 1.
Absolutely.
Do you know what the other 5 are?
I say so much stupid shit. I'm trying to think. Stop it.
But not like say like you.
You're welcome. Is that one of them? Is it?
No, it's not on the list.
Oh, that's new then. That's 2020.
2020.
Stop it. That's hot. No.
No, it's not on the list, but I think that's a 2019 one.
So cute.
What?
How cute? So cute.
Okay, so we got some to add on here because they're not on here. But so here's my list that I had. So this is a couple years old probably, but yes, stop it was on the list. Totes.
Oh, of course, totes. It's a problem.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it's a problem is actually on there. Oh no.
Oh no. That's so true. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
The last one I had was spooky.
Oh, well, yeah.
But anyway, we need to add them. So which one? That's cute.
That is so cute.
That's so cute. So cute.
So cute.
Okay, so that's so cute. I'm doing this in live time in my iPhone. That's so cute. That's hot.
So hot. What else? Oh man.
Okay.
You're welcome.
And you're welcome.
That's been my thing recently.
You're welcome. You're welcome spelled Y-E-R, right? All right. Okay.
I trust you.
Enough clowning around. Okay, so there we go. There's nine Vickyisms now.
Dude.
Stop it was number 1 because when we made this list,
yeah.
I think you said stop it. I think you said it maybe 200 times over the course of a weekend, which is Niagara Falls, right? Niagara Falls.
Did you guys have bets on me? Like,
no.
You're like,
well, we do now.
shit.
Anyway, thanks so much, Vicky, for playing rapid fire. I know it's always nerve-wracking to get the hard-hitting journalistic questions that we pose to our guests on Takeover Tuesday every other Tuesday. But thanks for being such a good sport about that. Just jumping into a couple more comments. John McIsaac is popping in here. Oh, let me see. Okay, so John McIsaac here has got 2 really great questions. So we're going to go back to back. He's saying, hey, Vicky, thoughts on Rob Zombie's Halloween? I liked how Rob went in depth with on Michael's childhood. Your thoughts?
It's funny you just brought that up because I rewatched them legit like 3 days ago, maybe. Not bad. I think it's cool. I like it that he didn't fully try making like a remake of it. He did more of like a prequel / explanation thing. But I'm still such a Carpenter fan. Like the first and second back to back, I'm like, oh, shivers. Love it.
And fair enough. I like that. I like that movie because yeah, it's just a little bit more, and it just gives
It
you something a
explains.
little bit different. I mean, and everyone complains about Rob Zombie's version of it, but yeah, I agree. I mean, at least it's something different, it's something new to watch, and definitely doesn't riff on the first one as much as maybe the 2018 one did. But hey, whatever, right? So as long as you enjoy them, that's all. That's what it's all about. So, and we got a follow up question from John, and just because it's such an awesome question, he said, and follow up. Mount Rushmore. What's your Mount Rushmore for hair metal bands? John's is Poison, Warrant, Cinderella, and Firehouse. So, do you know your Mount Rushmore of hair metal bands?
I don't know my Mount Rushmore, but dude, Warrant, Cherry Pie got. That used to be my cell phone ring. I didn't get a job because that cell phone went off, and it just kept going. She's my chair, and I was like,
"Can you tell us? Can you expand on that? Can you tell us a story?"
I went in for like a very serious job interview back when cell phones were like Sony's and like Nokia's, you know what I'm saying? Like Motorola's. Yeah, I was like ghetto. I had like a no name. My phone starts going off. First time I'm owning a purse. First time I'm going for like a legit, like, she's my cherry pie. And I'm sitting there looking at the lady like, what's around my bag? Anyways, the whole song went because my phone was one of these stupid Sony ones that'll play like legit the whole song. Never found my phone, and I looked at her. I'm like, I guess you're not into Warrant. Nope. All right. Wasn't worth it anyway. But Warrant's a great band. Poison.
So Warrant is up there. Rats on your Mount Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
You got two more. Who else? Do you think Motley Crue? Is Motley Crue up there for you or no?
Is Motley Crue's pretty damn good.
And one other one. Who do you think?
Dokken.
Oh, Dokken.
Come on.
Are you kidding me? Dokken, bro.
What do you mean?
There you go, John. Hopefully that answers your question. So, yeah, if you have any other comments, questions for Vicky, just throw them down in the comments. We'll try and get them up before the end of the broadcast. And hey, let's move on to some other questions we got for you. Let's, we were talking about conventions earlier before about like the importance of the horror community and importance to small businesses and that sort of thing. But how do you see conventions coming back? Because we're not going to see a fan expo, I don't think, like maybe next year, like maybe, but I don't see 140,000 people like cycling through a convention center over the course of a weekend. Like I just don't see that happening just yet. So how do you think, what's your perception of how you think conventions might come back in 2021?
Honestly, I've been seeing a lot of weird like online conventions. People are trying to like sway to that. Also, like there's places in the States that I think they did it right before the pandemic happened and or like recently. And like I'm watching like everybody's wearing their masks. It looks like limited entry. It might just be, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it might just be like smaller, more humble types of conventions that might win. You know what I mean? Like they might be more worth it at this point because yeah, FanX was insane. I could not imagine that sea of people. That would be like, nope.
I remember going to conventions being like, there were certain conventions I would go to where I would be like, and I'm not a germaphobe or anything like that, but like on day 3, you'd be like, whatever the sickness is at this convention, like I am getting it. Like I have it. I have contracted it. And it's just because there's so many people and so many people are, you're shaking so many hands and, you know,
it's like, up, yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, I mean, do you think, like, I mean, I've heard some comments about potentially like conventions coming back as more of like an outdoor sort of like market type of vibe.
That would be epic. Make it like
because it's outside, right? People are like, you can mill around a bit more, and you're not kind of in this enclosed space, and maybe that kind of bridges 2021 back to 2022 when maybe we can have full scale conventions yet. But is that something you might be into, or?
Absolutely, that would be epic. Outdoor stuff, I would love that. It's just one of those things, anything to kind of get you back in that whole zone. You know what I mean? I am adaptable.
Oh, and before we jump in here, just a quick comment from John. Thanks, guys. No problem, John. Happy to help. Happy to help you with your hair metal questions.
Wait.
Yeah.
What movie was that from? You know,
I know. I need a box, like a button to press, like sound effects and stuff, right? So
absolutely. You're like,
and yeah, I mean, sorry. So I saw that coming and I just couldn't resist. But yeah, I think maybe conventions might come back in that respect, and maybe that gives it a more of a community. Like it kind of builds into that community vibe.
yeah.
It's hard to say. Right? I mean, I feel like.
Do you guys have the whole drive-in thing going? Because they started that in Montreal.
Yeah. So Jake and James from Shockstock, they did a couple or a few actually. I think they did ones in Oakville. Sorry, London, Oakville, Hamilton, and Barrie. I'm sure I'm missing a couple. Sorry, guys, but yeah, we popped over to the one in Hamilton. It was really, really cool, and they showed Pieces and the original Evil Dead at the drive-in, and they had vendor tables set up and stuff, and it was really cool. It was a neat thing to do, and it was like different, right? So I mean, I hope that continues as well, because I think people will kind of be sort of into that to say, hey, listen, let's go down to the drive-in and hang out and like just, we just. Drink beers and watching, eating popcorn, eating everything that's bad for you. Yeah. But I miss that so much. Like I miss movie theater popcorn. Like I have this craving for movie theater popcorn that I don't get too often. But yeah. It's hey, good times, right? So hopefully they do still keep doing those drive-ins, and maybe maybe it's like a drive-in tour, right? That could be an idea as well. So
that would be epic. That's a great idea.
We'll email Jake and James and we'll tell them just so we have something to do next summer, right? Guys, come on.
Get on it.
Cannibal Cam, come on. Anyway, I miss Shockstock so much. So it's like it's so good. We always keep talking about Shockstock on this show, and we talk on other shows as well. But if you haven't gone to Shockstock and you like horror stuff and you like underground shit, like go to Shockstock. It's like nothing you've ever experienced before. I can't explain it for you. I can't explain it to you.
It's a feeling. It's legit a feeling.
Yeah, you'll know in about half an hour whether it's the spot for you. But if it is, you'll have a good time. So, and you'll see both of us. Wait, and her. Yeah, at Shockstock. So, hey, so just let's talk a little bit about just the business aspect of the mask industry and what you do. And you're an established business owner now. You've been working pretty hard on it for like we said, like better part of a decade, especially over the last few years. You've really upped your game and made a really strong presence online and created client lists and that sort of thing. You really have a fan base that you established from the ground up, grassroots, all by yourself. What would you like? Is there any advice you could pass on to anybody else looking to start a business in general?
Oh man, I'd say do it. A lot of people, their problem is they have a great idea and they get so shadowed by that whole the whole judging part, right? Because we're also what's that word? Insecure, right? Especially if it's your passion. And it's like, shut up, drop everything and go start it. Don't even, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe read some entrepreneur books. Don't get me wrong. Don't be shy to talk to people who've already done it. That's a huge thing. Like I've always worked, I worked in makeup effect shops before I did this on my own. I needed to see what's it like working like behind the scenes and stuff, and what's it like when they take orders for clients. It's kind of like a moment where learn it, implement it, and just run with it.
Was there a time where you reached sort of like a bit of a wall where you were like, I don't know, like what I'm supposed to do next? Or has it just been, you just kind of kept going through every year, every season, that sort of stuff?
I think it was more like, you know what, like when I began this, I was very much focused on, I'm creating this company. I got incorporated. I was under this thing called Macabre Productions. And that's how I started. And I was like, I always wanted to make movies too. So to me, it was like, great, I'm making this umbrella that I could eventually do that from. And then it's like, I realized people don't care about a company. They care about the artist. They care about the person behind there making it. They care that we're human too. They want to know that you know, you're silly better working for Black Bun, fucking killing it and shit. And like, you know what I mean? They like that personal thing. And I agree with that. How many times do you buy off of people that you're almost like, you know, I'm like-minded, like, you know what I mean? You kind of connect in that sense. So that's when I finally just said, you know what? I did a lot of big life changes and shit. And I was like, I'm doing this. I'm going all out. And, you know, when you put your 100 billion% in, you get back. It's always how it is. A lot of people pull that whole, what's that book? You know what I'm talking about?
Which book?
It's all those like self-help books where they're all like the power of like envisioning it. What's that called?
Oh, The Secret?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I read one of those books, but about entrepreneurialism. It wasn't like the other ones or whatever. But the only thing that really stuck out to me was legit work hard and you'll get it back. And it's one of those things where it's like, also be smart, assess what's working, assess what's not, you know, or else it's like that classic, like, are you nuts? You're just going to keep doing the same mistake. And, you know,
yeah. I mean, it's funny because we should tell this story too, that how we met each other is that we went to Montreal Comic-Con one year and we had a Black Fawn distribution booth set up. And you just happened to be our neighbor. Like it was a random thing.
Oh no.
And then unfortunately, we don't speak French, whereas you do. And so we had a lot of Francophone horror fans that came up that, you know, we're horrible. I mean, we tried to fumble through the best we could, but there's times where I'm just like, I'm totally butchering this. Hey, Vicky, like, and we just met each other that weekend. I was like, I'm sorry, can you just tell this guy that about our movies, because I feel bad because I can't communicate properly, right? And you were super helpful that whole weekend, and we became buddies after that, and we've known each other ever since. But the one thing I think like we've always tried to do is that it doesn't matter who comes up to our booth, like try and be engaged, try and say hello, try and like talk to people. Like, and you don't need to sell them something, but you just have to, you know, just talk to them. And I feel like sometimes a lot of vendors, they get stuck on their phones or they're sitting behind the table and they're not engaged. And I feel like that's one of the main things you can do. And I knew that right from the get-go when I met you, because you were doing that with your customers and the fans that were coming through to your booth and checking out masks and stuff. And like, I really do feel that that's a huge thing. It's a very easy thing. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you any money.
Customer service is so huge. And it's just also like just a genuine, you know what I mean? Like, if you're at a Comic-Con, it's because chances are you probably like who's at Comic-Con, you know? You probably like one of those people who are coming. If it's Jake the Snake coming to sign, you're probably like, oh yeah.
Dude, you know? Jake the Snake is the man. He's the man.
Okay.
Also, if you want to know, Vicky would never publicly admit this, but I'll tell you how cool Vicky actually is that one time I was going on about how much like I loved wrestling, and she went out and bought me. She found a Bret the Hitman Hart like wrestling magazine and bought it for me at this convention. And she was like, "Here you go, dude," and she threw it on the table. And I was like, "What is this?" And she's like, "Oh, it's a magazine I found." So it's always awesome when we link up at these conventions and stuff. And I totally miss you a ton, but let's and so the rest of the guys too. So hopefully we can get back to doing what we do in person. But just before we go, tell us a little bit about, do you have anything coming up for 2020, the rest of 2020? I know everyone's trying to get out of this year as fast as humanly possible, but do you have anything coming up for the rest of 2020 or anything coming up in 2021?
My biggest push right now is I invested in some new heads to sculpt on, because I've been using like these ghetto cement heads for years. So I'm like, yo, it's time to upgrade. So I'm just basically trying to pump out as much new content as I can. So I'm trying to get at least a couple originals done. And then I don't want to say, okay, no, I'm going to say, I really want to make a Predator mask. I think he's so scary and cool. So like, there's a couple big projects that I really want to make and do. And I think that's it. We're all stuck inside. We're back on lockdown here in Montreal. It's kind of like, you know what, if I'm going to be using my time effectively, I want to use it towards creating new shit.
Cool. Yeah. Again, without any old ass heads, right?
Oh my God, you have no idea. Like I got X's heads as like cement heads over here. I'm like, it's done. Chuck it. It's done.
Well, listen, hey, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks a lot for doing our Takeover Tuesday. Stick around after we go off the air, okay? Because we got a couple of things to catch up on too as well after we go off air. But thanks again, Vicky. For taking over our Instagram today, for posting all the content that you have, both on our feed and our stories, and for joining us tonight on Takeover Tuesday on Facebook and on Twitch and on YouTube. And, we miss you a ton. And, hey, keep doing what you're doing. I know that you're an inspiration to a lot of people out there, both horror fans as well as female entrepreneurs. We think that's important, too, for people to see people like yourself doing it the way you do it. So thanks for joining us. Just a reminder to everyone out there, just as our friendly, you just mentioned that you're still in lockdown in Montreal. But, hey, listen, we're telling everyone out there, stay safe and help out. Wear a mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing, and think about others. That means helping out where you can, making sure people next door, your neighbors, your friends, your family, making sure people are okay, checking in when you can. And also, hey, if we all stick together and we all do the right things, hopefully we get out of this crazy, shitty pandemic and we get back to the way things used to be before 2020, right? So, but anyway, Vicky, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in for Takeover Tuesday, and